Now, for more on our special coverage of Pope Francis in Africa. He's back at the Vatican on board the papal plane during the flight home. Crux Rome Bureau Chief Inez San Martin. She joins us now from Rome. Inez, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the Holy Father's in-flight news conferences are often important events. What did he have to say this time?
First of all, it has to be said, most of the time what the Pope says, it's kind of dependent on what we journalists ask him about. So it's always interesting to see what what our reactions are. What do we want to know from the Pope on any given trip? This case, of course, the English-speaking journalist, we asked the Pope about a comment he made on the way to Africa when a French journalist handed him a book about how Americans want to change the Pope, and Francis quite memorably said that he feels honored at the fact that Americans are attacking him. We try to ask a follow-up question to that, including the fact that is he afraid about a schism from the Catholic Church in the United States? And what Pope Francis said is that he prays that there is no schism, mostly because of the pastoral, the spiritual health of those involved in a schism. But at the end of the day, he said he's not afraid of one, which of course was very interesting, and we're going to see some shockwaves on it for the next few days.
By all accounts, the Pope's pilgrimage of peace was a rousing success. Did he accomplish everything he set out to do?
I believe he did. He had very clear messages that he wanted to deliver in all three countries, and what he told us on the plane is that he was impressed by what he saw. Of course, he was moved. He was shocked. We're talking about three countries, two of them with very extreme poverty. In Madagascar, for instance, 70% of the population lives with less than $2 a day. And this was something that was clearly visible in the streets as he was passing by with the Pope mobile. But he also told us that he thinks, or he felt that he was able to live in the joy that the people in Africa have. And this was very clear. This was part of the intent of the Pope. He wanted to let them know, let the people in Mozambique, Madagascar, and Mauritius that the Pope remembers them, and the world remembers them, because for the past week, a lot of the eyes of the universe were actually set on these three countries that are not normally on the news cycle.
The three nations Francis visited are all facing major challenges in the future. Do papal trips like this one ultimately make a difference?
They have the possibility, and there's been examples of trips like this making a difference, specifically in the case of Pope Francis in sub-Saharan Africa. The country that is bound to see the most effect of it is Mozambique, that on August 1st signed a ceasefire agreement on two opposing sides of a bloody civil war that technically ended in 1992 after 1 million people lost their lives in the fights. But there's still being some hot pockets here and there. The peace agreement was signed, and Pope Francis said to us journalists today, traveling with him, that he wanted to go to Mozambique specifically to support and to encourage this peace process in this war-torn nation in sub-Saharan Africa.
The church in Africa is growing by leaps and bounds. How does the Pope's mission help that growth?
I think of all the trip, everything we've seen, there was one case specific on Sunday when he was in Madagascar, and he visited what is called the city of Akamasoa, which is technically a city within the city of Antananarivo. It's a social project started by a Catholic priest from Argentina, a missionary priest by the name of Pedro Peca. And Pope Francis, he had a very strong message to deliver there, talking about how poverty is not inevitable, but most specifically what he said, or what he wanted the world to see, is that this is what the Catholic Church, when it's based on faith and in good action, can help build in a nation. And in the case specifically of Akamasoa, we're talking about a priest who built 5,000 homes that lifted 28,000 people out of poverty.
Inez San Martin, the Crux Rome Bureau Chief, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.